Hello everyone, David here. The Walking Dead is back with another episode, and spoilers for the episode will follow, so if you don't want to hear it, go watch the episode first and then come back. But this is for the episode entitled The Same Boat, and I should be redubbed The Same Room because we are dealt with a bottle episode. As soon as that woman says that help is 30 minutes out, I'm like, okay, we're stuck here for the next 30 minutes. This is going to take place in somewhat real time, so the entire episode's going to be in this one bunker that we're taken to. And basically, the episode picks up right where the last one left off, where we have Carol and Maggie taken captive by these remaining saviors that were part of that compound, but they happen to be on the outside. So they managed to get away from that massacre. And they take Maggie and Carol as ransom, and they hope to, Rick and the group hope to exchange the guy that they managed to capture at the end of last week's episode that happened to be on Daryl's bike in exchange for Carol and Maggie. However, these people are stubborn as hell, and they're just holding out to see how they can get the upper hand. And that's where we spend the majority of this episode. It's in this bunker, thinking about what's going to be the next move and whether or not Carol and Maggie are going to die, which we kind of know at this point that's probably not going to happen because they're just too strong of mainstay characters that for me personally, the peril of either one of them dying, or at least Maggie dying, just wasn't present, at least not with these people. I feel like when Negan himself actually shows up by the end of the season, I feel like anybody could be up for grabs, because I do feel like this last half of the season is kind of playing it up like maybe 3 key players can go. Glenn, Daryl, which we saw hints of possibly going out in, I think, a couple episodes back, and I feel like this episode has thrown Carol into the mix of potential victims of Lucille, despite what the comic book says. You know, sometimes they deviate from the comic book, so this episode might be one of those. But the episode takes place within this bunker, and here's where, during the middle part of the episode, we learn about these characters, about these remaining saviors, and these people are despicable and hateful in the best way possible. I hated these people, but I love to hate them because they made for legitimate antagonists to Maggie and Carol's protagonists. And they were smug about it too. Like, I wanted them to get it. Like they're the type of villains that will not just threaten to kill you and keep pointing guns at you and tell you to like shut up without giving you a second, without giving you the slightest chance to even get the word in. But they're even smug about it too. Like, especially this redheaded girl. I can't remember all of their names. I remember her name being Molly, but her name it escapes me. But I remember, like, whenever she's walking in front of Carol and she's like, you're pathetic. Yeah, look at you, little bird, you're gonna die. Whenever she did that, I'm like, please let them get it by the end of this episode, because I hate these people. But like I said, I mean that in the most sincere and positive way possible, because not only were the performances by these newcomers good, but they were written very, very well, that they made for the worst of the bunch. But the reason for why I say the worst out of all these people is that there's a line later on in the episode when we're getting to know these characters, and we have Maggie having her moment with that other woman who continuously pointed the gun at everybody. Like every chance she got, she's like, what? Like, she was just trigger happy. She was just waiting to use that gun. But in the scene where she's quote unquote interrogating her, because all she does is ask her without actually threatening, not even threatening to torture her. I understand that she won't go ahead with the torture because she found some kind of connection with Maggie, in the sense that Maggie's carrying a child and she used to have a child from the implications. But you could at least threaten and be like, I'm gonna do some shit, but she just points the gun and that's it. And it's like the most uninteresting interrogation I've ever seen. But in this scene, there's a line uttered by her that I thought was really, really captivating. And that's where she said, "You're not the good guys." She didn't say that we're not the bad guys, because she probably admits that, yeah, we are bad people, but you're not good people either necessarily. And that really makes you think. Like, back in season 1 and 2 and even 3 of The Walking Dead, we could have easily said that, yeah, Rick, Daryl, Maggie, Glenn, all of them, they are the good guys. They're the good people. But by this point, now that Glenn has taken that further step of actually killing somebody, by the way, after some careful research, I learned that I don't think Glenn has actually killed anybody himself. He's killed walkers, but I don't think he actually did kill people. So I guess that scene with him killing those people up close and personal even had a greater resonance with me, because okay, now I get it. Sorry about that. But all that, their transformation to becoming these brutal savage killers, particularly Rick, really does put into question whether or not these people are truly the good guys. I mean, they're the protagonists, they're the main characters that we're following, but are they necessarily the good guys out of this universe? No, they're just like the lesser bad guys, lesser to where they could easily become the good guys, but they're still behind that line. And that's the question that The Walking Dead is always trying to tackle with its themes. And sometimes they could get kind of repetitive with it, but I found that line to be genuinely intriguing because it does put that question into play. So the majority of this section, within the middle 10 or 15 minutes, we get to know these characters, and I'm all for character development and learning about characters and fleshing them out. And I kind of thought that was interesting to learn about some of these people, especially the red-haired girl who used to be a secretary and was being kept pushed around until she said no more. But I'm not a huge fan of when they do it in a somewhat unnatural manner. Not to be nitpicky, but I never liked it when characters just out of nowhere say, hey, I used to be this, and I'm going to use now a metaphor to tie my background to yours. That's pretty much what happened with her, and I've never been a huge fan of that kind of writing, and that happens a lot in The Walking Dead. I always loved it better when they do it in a natural way, where a character would ask, like, what did you used to be, or the situation calls for it. And here, it just didn't feel all that realistic for me, for her to just out of nowhere be like, starting monologuing, pretty much. But while all this is going on, Carol is actually putting on a facade, one that I just knew too good to be true. And for a second, I will admit, towards the end of it, I was starting to imagine, I really do not hope that this is actually Carol speaking, because throughout this middle part, the second act of the episode, Carol's putting on this facade of being this weak and feeble woman. Actually, Carol's putting on the facade of season 1 Carol, crying, hyperventilating, and honestly, even now, after many hours after watching the episode, I'm trying to figure out whether or not she was truly hyperventilating or not, or pretending to be. And her, emoting as if she is scared of dying. But by the end of this episode, we learn that she's scared of just taking on more lives. Because what she did in this middle part, that I think is not only a testament to Melissa McBride's performance, but also Carol the character's performance of putting up this act of taking her season 1 self and then mixing it with her current self, in which she's feeling emotional and she's crying as if she's weak and feeble, but she's also saying things that are kind of true, saying, hey, if you don't go through with this deal of trading us for that other one of your men, you are going to die. And that kind of rings true by the end of this episode. And then once we get to the last half is where Carol and Maggie take the action to actually get out of there. And here again demonstrates the switch of characters, where Carol, she is willing to be badass, but after what happened with Sam and Alexandria, she's kind of like, if I don't have to do it, I will try my best not to want to do it, but if I have to, I will. And that's what Carol demonstrates in this last 10 minutes, where she wants to just get out of there, but Maggie's like the one that's like, no, we have to finish this because they're going to come back. We've seen what happened when we let people go, so we got to finish it. So they take care of them. They let Donnie bleed out with his wound here, and him turning manages to dispatch Molly, and then Maggie goes to town on her with the pistol whipping her to a pulp. And then Maggie and that one girl with the wart on her face get into it, and Carol puts her down, and then Carol and the redheaded girl get into it, and that leads to the redheaded girl's demise, which I think could have been a little better, because I think the effects were kind of iffy. When they're pulling the flesh out of her cheek, that looked like red Play-Doh. I don't know. Greg Nicotero was absent, probably. I don't know. But even later on in the shot where half of her face is missing, it was obscured by the shadow. I'm like, no, I want to see the details. I'm morbid like that. But they get into a scuffle, but even Carol offers her the opportunity to just run away. Like, hey, I'm willing to let you go. This is a rarity for me, but you're forcing my hand. You see what you made me do. And that's pretty much what Carol ends up doing, having to put her down. And this really does affect our characters in many different ways, and we still have yet to learn whether or not the baby was damaged in any way when that girl swiped at Maggie and cut her right here. I'm pretty sure it just cut the shirt and then didn't really really didn't hurt her. But it was a very exciting moment. And then even furthermore, they're like, hey, we already got this shit started, so we might as well take care of all those other saviors that are going to be coming and lure them into the kill room and then burn them up. And again, Maggie's kind of like, yes, we finally did this. You know, she's starting to take on that savage image, whereas Carol's the one that's like, man, I didn't want to do this, but I guess we have to. I guess I have to reach those double digits. So very powerful episodes for both Maggie and Carol, and then by the end, Rick and the group show up. They offer that guy like, hey, this just went south, so either you could tell us what you know, or we're putting you down, and they end up putting him down. But right before they do, he says something that really, it almost seems like it scares Carol to where she grips onto that Rosemary a little tighter because like, oh shit, maybe some shit's happening. Where once again, Negan showing his power without even showing up on screen. These people are saying we're all Negan, as a way to. It's almost like something that the Joker would do, where Joker would make all those like fake Jokers to trick Batman into taking one of them out, whereas the real Joker's out there still causing mayhem. Negan's doing a similar thing here, where the dude's like, I'm Negan, and Rick kind of seems to like buy it at first, but then he's just like, man, I'm just putting you down because of that. But it kind of like affects the look on Carol's face is like, man, maybe Negan has this power that is beyond something that we've never tackled before, and she might actually feel some kind of fear coming. Maybe not for her, but for somebody. So another great episode of The Walking Dead. Again, a couple of qualms here and there. One of them that stuck with me is how during the ending fight between Maggie and that one woman that used to have a baby and Carol and the redheaded girl, is it just me, or did like they treat it in a way where it's like a tag team match, except it shouldn't be that way. Like when Maggie and the girl were fighting, Carol didn't help. I mean, I know she was down on the ground, but I feel like she could have came with that gun a little quicker. But furthermore, when Carol and the redheaded girl were fighting, Maggie could have done something, except she's just standing there in the corner. Okay, whatever. I mean, you could argue that she doesn't want to harm the baby, but I'm pretty sure she could have done something. I don't know. Anyways, I give The Same Boat a high 8 out of 10. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this week's episode. And we only got 3 episodes left. 2 before the actual unveiling of Negan himself, and I'm definitely excited for what that brings us. And I feel like the pace for this last half of the season has been pretty good to make me want to recommend The Walking Dead to people more, especially to those people that have dropped off from watching it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.